Alright, what's up guys? Hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because I am running off of 0 hours of sleep for the past 36 or so hours, and after staying up all night playing Doom: The Dark Ages from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. this morning, I think I'm ready to talk about this game a little bit, because I'm very conflicted on it, man, because on the one hand, I went into this obviously really wanting to like it. The Doom reboot series is probably one of my favorite, I would say, video game franchises at the moment in general. I absolutely love Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. They are just absolutely fantastic first-person shooters, so obviously going in, I definitely had some high expectations for Doom: The Dark Ages, and well, I can't say that I'm not a little bit disappointed after playing it for myself for the 12 hours that I did. Now, I got through about 20 of the 22 campaign missions, and I was playing it on ultra-violent difficulty. I'm actually probably going to finish it up tonight on stream, so if you're around, feel free to stop by. But overall, I'm not going to say I didn't have fun with the game, because I have had fun with it. I think it's actually a really good game for what it is, but on the other hand, I don't really know if it's a good follow-up to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, and that's where I'm very conflicted, because it almost feels like an entirely different franchise. Like, if the Doom name was not on this, it would very easily be mistaken, I feel like, for a new IP, because the gameplay formula is just so dramatically different compared to the other titles. So first off, let's go ahead and start off with what I did like about the game. Now, first off, obviously the gameplay feels absolutely incredible. If id Software can do one thing and has always done one thing right, it is absolutely nailing the feel of the first-person shooting mechanics. Every single weapon feels unique, punchy, there's actual weight behind every single shell you send down range. Overall, it's just an absolute blast to play, and overall it has some of the best and most responsive and fine-tuned first-person combat mechanics that you will find across any genre of video game in the industry today. So as always, id Software knocks it out of the park. On top of that, the graphics of the game look absolutely phenomenal. It's not really a huge jump from Doom Eternal, which released in 2020, but then again, graphics have completely plateaued since about midway through the PlayStation 4 generation, so I wasn't expecting anything absolutely mind-melting as far as graphics go, but the game looks absolutely beautiful. Everything looks sharp and crisp and non-blurry. It is the complete antithesis of the modern Unreal Engine 5 slop that we typically see, and I'm just very glad that id Software is still using their own proprietary engine, because not enough developers do that nowadays. So the game looks amazing, especially early on, man. Some of the environments in the game look absolutely phenomenal. Like, the first 5 or so missions, I feel like, are some of the coolest video game settings I've seen in quite some time. Unfortunately, that doesn't really hold up the longer you play the game, and it just kind of starts to feel more and more generic. But when they really do, like, show off, I guess, the art style and the graphic design and everything like that, it really does pop, man, especially early on in the game. You'll really notice just how amazing the backdrops and everything look as you're just, you know, bouncing around the combat arenas, blowing fucking heads off with a shotgun, and in between, you may catch a glimpse of the background and just be like, damn, bro, that looks so fucking awesome. I wish I could go explore that. But yeah, they really do knock it out of the park with gameplay and graphics, in my personal opinion. Also, a new addition is the gore effects, where if you shoot an enemy in a particular part of their body, the actual chunks of flesh will fly off from that specific point. Now, this kind of does come with a trade-off, because I think a lot of people have noticed, like, the gore and blood seems kind of toned down a little bit in this particular entry, and I think that's a compromise from having, like, this advanced bullet damage effect to where you can actually see the parts of the body you're shooting fly off the enemies. So I think it's cool. Personally, I think it's a good trade-off if that is actually the case. I don't really have an issue with that. Now, I will say, and I think pretty much everybody else has noticed it too, it does look like gore has been toned down a little bit, in my personal opinion. It looks a little bit more cartoony than it does, especially compared to Doom 2016, but I think, unfortunately, that is the Microsoft effect, because the same thing happened with Halo when they took away the blood, and then also in Gears of War. Compare Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and you will notice a massive difference in how non-gory Gears 4 and 5 are compared to the original trilogy. But that's just more of a Microsoft thing, but it really doesn't take away from the experience all that much. I do wish glory kills were in the game still. I personally always liked them. There is some semblance of them. If you jump up in the air, hold down block, and then actually pull off the execution, then sometimes you will trigger one of the old glory kill animations. Not Not sure if that's deliberate or if it's like an Easter egg or something, but that is cool. I do miss the glory kills. Personally, I was a fan of them. I know people said they got repetitive, but I think the solution for that was just to speed up the animations, not remove them entirely. But I understand what they were going for, and it's not really that big of a deal, but personally, I always did like them. And on top of that, I think I already mentioned this before, but the weapon design, bro, like every single gun in this game is super unique. Like they did such a fantastic job, man. I really cannot stress it enough. This is probably my favorite weapon set of any of the Doom games I've played, and they really knocked it out of the park, bro. Every single gun in this game feels absolutely unique. It has its own strengths and weaknesses. There's definitely a situation for every single one, and each gun has like a variant form that has like either an AoE specialty or a more single target type focus, and it really just works well, man. I had an absolute blast using every single one of these guns. They're all extremely useful in their own ways, and I really like the fact that you're very much free to use, for the most part, whatever weapon you want in that particular moment, with some exceptions. But compared to Doom Eternal, where you kind of had to use certain weapons against certain enemies, that's not really the case in Doom the Dark Ages to that exact extent. However, that does take us in to our first negative, because where, you know, the reliance on a particular weapon to take out a certain type of enemy is gone, now the entire gameplay loop is focused around parries, which personally, if you know anything about me, I absolutely hate parrying. I hate parrying in hack and slash games. I hate parrying in games like Dark Souls. I hate parrying in pretty much anything, bro. It's the reason why I dropped Expedition 33. I could not stand having to parry 100 fucking attacks in a row in between attacking once or twice. So I dropped that game. I got sick of having to spam parry all the fucking time, and Doom is really pushing it, man, because the entire combat system in this game is 100% reliant on parries. You cannot play this game without parrying. It is basically impossible, especially if you're on a higher difficulty. Now, if you mess with the settings, amplify your damage using the difficulty sliders and put it on one of the easier difficulties, maybe you could get away with not parrying. But if you're playing on ultra violent like me, you are going to be parrying like your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. And a lot of times you will find yourself not even thinking about firing your gun because you're just more worried about pulling off the, consecutive parry chain that you need to do, because one or two hits can end up killing you in this game, because you really do take a lot of damage and you don't have a lot of health. So parrying is absolutely crucial on higher difficulties, and it does start to feel a little bit much, in my opinion. It starts to feel more like a parrying simulator than an actual first-person shooter. And when I'm playing a Doom game and my focus isn't on using my guns and instead is worrying about parrying, 15 oncoming attacks so that I can get the parry damage on the enemies, then I think something is wrong with that equation. Now, I know they were trying to go for a more melee combat focused style, but it's not even real melee combat, because your melee attacks have a massive cooldown, and the parry is not what I would consider to be melee combat. Standing there waiting for an enemy to attack you and parry an attack is not exactly what I would consider to be exciting hand-to-hand or melee combat. So I do think it is cool what they were going for when it comes with the parry mechanics in this game. It definitely is something unique and different that we haven't really ever seen in a first-person shooter before, but at the same time, you kind of start to see why, because it completely overwhelms the entire gameplay loop, and it gets to the point where it starts to get very, very annoying, because you don't feel like you're dying because you're not hitting your shots. It feels like you're dying because you're not able to parry everything in a perfect consecutive manner, and you just get absolutely overwhelmed and wailed on, because parrying is absolutely a requirement, and pretty much every single enemy attack that's in the game is set up in a way for you to parry it in order to counter and then unleash damage on them. So what happens a lot of time is the actual shooting of your gun takes a back seat and is like a second priority, which I am personally not a fan of whatsoever. So I think that is probably my biggest gripe with this game, is the over-reliance on the parry mechanic. Now, granted, I am playing the game on ultra violent, so Maybe when I go back and replay the game on a lower difficulty, I mess with some of the sliders to kind of, you know, cater the experience a little bit more to my liking. I'll be able to get that more just run and gun, you know, Doom 2016 feel that personally I'm more of a fan of, and it won't be a problem. But it is something to keep in mind if you are someone who does enjoy playing these games on the higher difficulties. Parrying is what you're going to be doing like 70% of the time in this game when it comes to combat. And speaking of what you're going to be doing in this game, this is a massive, massive campaign. Like, it is long, guys. This is 22 missions. I think Doom Eternal had, what, 13 or 12 or something like that, and I think Doom 2016 had a similar number, so this is almost double the size, and it is a long, long, long campaign, and I don't think it necessarily is to the benefit, because there are several different levels in this game that feel just like pure filler, and it has that awful video game stereotype of doing the same thing 3 times in a row over and over and over again. It's not just, oh, go destroy this tower. It's go destroy 3 towers, or destroy 3 tentacles, or destroy 3 generators, or go and pick up 3 items. And it just becomes so obnoxious because you can tell certain story missions really did not need to be in the game. I think there's one towards the end, which I'm not going to spoil the plot, even though I don't really know how you could spoil the plot to this game. But anyway, I'm not going to get into story details. That's not really here or there. But there is a point where the story is coming to a climax, and then suddenly you get swallowed by a big monster, and then you have a 30 to 40 minute mission where you're just trying to escape from its stomach. I shit you not. And this is like right at the end of the game. It is the most cliche padding mission in video game history, and it's just right there in 2025. So you can tell they were really trying to stretch this campaign because there is not any sort of multiplayer or secondary game mode aside from the campaign this time around. So they probably wanted to make it as long as possible to, you know, make people think they're getting their money's worth, which personally, I'm of the mentality, give me a 5 to 15 hour game that earns every hour versus something that's artificially padded out. I hate the mentality of a certain amount of dollars per hour of gameplay. I think that's completely idiotic because you can replay a short game that's fun. I'm more inclined to replay a 5 to 10 hour game that I absolutely love every single minute of than a 30-hour game that I only like 5 or 10 hours of. So personally, I get more value out of a more, I would say, refined, slimmed down campaign experience, and Doom the Dark Ages is on that edge of feeling over bloated when it comes to a lot of these padding campaign missions. And that is not really helped by the fact that the environments, especially in the late game, really start to feel copy-pasted, man. There are some missions that don't even feel distinct at all. You can tell that they basically just took the previous environment, put over like a new color palette, essentially. Like, one has a green tent, one has a red tent, and one has like a yellowish tent. And it's just, it feels really lazy. It makes you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, because in reality, you actually are. There's not a ton of enemy variety in this game either, and most of the enemies you're going to be fighting are introduced to you about halfway through the campaign, which means for the next 6 to 7 hours, you're just going to be fighting the same enemies over and over and over and over again, and most combat encounters are going to play out almost identically to the ones that you had previously, because this game doesn't really have the typical arena combat you would expect from one of the Doom games where they have like these really cool laid out combat arenas. They're basically just open areas and open fields, so they're really not memorable, or there's not really any cool ways to interact with them. It's just basically you on a flat plane shooting enemies, kind of like something out of Serious Sam is an example that somebody compared it to, which I think is actually pretty accurate. Now, on top of this, every single arena, for the most part, especially late game, has like this gimmick to it, where there is a leader enemy inside the arena that has a upgrade of some sort, whether it be ammo capacity, health upgrade, shield upgrade, whatever it might be. And you get this upgrade by killing the enemy, ripping out their heart, popping it, and it powers you up, basically. But in order to kill this enemy, you have to kill an arbitrary number of just random spawn demons in order to work down a bar in order to make them no longer invincible. So you have this high-level boss enemy that's running around the arena killing you that you cannot damage until you kill an arbitrary number of demons before you can start attacking it. And then once you kill all the demons around it, more spawn and the clusterfuck begins happens again. And I really don't like this at all. I think it's fine if they did it like once, twice, maybe 3 or 4 times, but by the 40th time you encounter it, it's like, come the fuck on, bro. Like, I'm tired of these unkillable enemies. Like, it would be one thing if you could kill them immediately, but no, you have to take out a certain number of enemies while avoiding them, and then you can actually start to damage them, which they have a massive amount of health compared to their normal counterparts and are an absolute pain in the ass to take out. And a lot of these different arenas can take 5 to 10 minutes to complete depending on how complex they are, and it just absolutely fucking sucks to finally get the ability to go and actually attack them, and then all of a sudden you die and you have to restart the entire thing over and over and over again. It's actually kind of infuriating, and I do not like the way the arena gimmicks are set up. And I think that's probably everything I wanted to touch on. Like, I'm very conflicted on this game because on the one hand, I really do like the core gameplay experience. I think it's fun. Again, maybe when I'm playing on a lower difficulty level and I don't have to try as hard and I can fuck around with the sliders for the difficulty and just go in and have fun and make it just an arcadey run and gun type experience, I'm probably going to have a lot more fun with it than I am right now playing it on ultra violent as the developers intended and kind of just sweating it out, man, because I'm not really someone who likes to play games on harder difficulty, but I was suffering through it for the stream, and honestly at this point I just want to finish it up because I only have 2 missions left. But yeah, personally I do like what this game does. I think it's cool. I just don't know if it's the sequel to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal that I was hoping for, because it really is a huge departure from the formula in both of those games, and it really almost feels like it's its own franchise at this point. Like, if this did not have the Doom name on it, I think you would be hard pressed to maybe connect the two, because it really does play completely differently, and just that extremely heavy reliance on parry mechanics really makes it feel like a completely different genre at times, because you're not really even focusing on the shooting. The guns feel like a secondary weapon compared to your parrying and your shield, which, you know, is cool. I enjoy using the parry and the shield actually, because you can make it retardedly easy with the difficulty sliders and you don't really have to think about it too much. But on the other hand, it doesn't feel like Doom, and I was kind of hoping for more of a Doom 2016 feel from this game, and if that's what you're hoping for, that is not what you're gonna get. So I would say if you're a fan of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, you're still probably gonna like this game. It has a very similar feel. Obviously, it's made by id Software, it's in the same franchise, it has familiar weapons and everything like that, but at the same time, it really is a huge departure from the classic, which, I mean, I guess it's classic at this point, Doom feel from these reboot games that id Software has been developing. So go in knowing that you are not getting Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal rehashed. You are getting something entirely new here, which, while it does feel familiar at times, is really its own beast. And I'm not saying it's bad. I actually do enjoy the game. I had fun with it. Like, if I was not having fun with it, I would have not stayed up for 12 hours straight with no sleep for 24 hours prior playing it until the wee hours of the morning until I had to hop on to work. So I was genuinely having a good time with it, but there are just some annoyances and things that I do not like in this particular entry. But, you know, maybe that'll change, like I mentioned, if I go back and play it on a lower difficulty setting and I'm just having a more fun, focused experience. Not entirely sure. Only time will tell, but I just wanted to make this video to get my thoughts out there, because personally, I was really conflicted walking away from my play session, and, you know, I have a YouTube channel. I might as well talk about gaming on it, God forbid. So yeah, these are just my thoughts on Doom: The Dark Ages. I'm interested to hear what y'all think about the game. You know, feel free to sound off in the comments section below. You know, let me know your thoughts on the game if you've played it. Are you liking the changes? Are you not really a big fan? Do you like the parry? You know, always interested to hear y'all's take on it, and I am looking forward to spending more time with it. Like, again, messing with those difficulty sliders and just kind of catering the experience will be a lot of fun. I'm also getting my new computer soon at the end of this week. I got a 5090 build, so that'll be really fucking awesome to boot up this game on and, you know, just play around with it and see it completely maxed out at 4K, which I also got a 4K monitor too, so that'll be cool as well. But overall, I am enjoying the game. I think it's a solid gameplay experience. It's just not exactly what I was hoping for when it comes to the third entry in the Doom reboot series. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts, and make sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. As always, I do want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this video, and for all the recent support as well. I just looked over at my audio timeline. This is a 20-minute video. Holy shit, bro. I was thinking this was going to be like some 10-minute slop video, but anyway, what else are lunch breaks for? But anyway, guys, I've rambled on long enough. Appreciate everybody watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.